Tonight, why police will be out and about in Broken Hill over the coming weekends. And flying high, a new business partnership takes to the skies in Port Augusta.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening, great to have your company tonight. Police will be on the prowl in Broken Hill over the coming weekends as the city's social scene and nightlife springs into action. The Broken Hill Festival and the Silver City Show will see an increase in officers on the beat.
From the early in the morning to the late at night, Broken Hill Police will be on the beat.
We'll have more officers on at the peak times, and that's about making sure everyone feels welcome. And if you do something wrong, police will be there to react.
Last weekend's footy grand final kicked off what will be a busy few weeks for local patrols. Expect to see plenty of boys and girls in blue as they patrol the streets, conducting random breath and drug tests while visiting pubs and clubs.
Our message is come to town, have a very good time.
Police say it's also important to have a safe time and behave responsibly.
Remember, if you've had too much to drink and the staff there ask you to leave, do what they say. The last thing you want is police to come and take action, get large fines.
The message to drink drivers: you will be caught.
Very much the focus is on random breath testing and also at times random drug testing. So if you do make the decision to drink and drive, the chances of being stopped, particularly these weekends and these events coming up, is better than ever.
A rural crime workshop is also being held in the Silver City at the moment, which has seen a further increase in officers around town, on top of the high presence for the busy event schedule ahead.
Police need to understand that, so when they go and respond to rural crime, they've got a lot more empathy. They've importantly also a lot more ideas in relation to how to take that report, what are the questions they need to ask, because all those matters, the better information you gather as a first responder means that our rural crime investigators that are based up at Broken Hill and also Derton, the better job they can progress in relation to rural crime.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Living by the sea seems to be the lifestyle location choice for an increasing number of South Australians. The Copper Coast Council has recorded a 9% boost in its population, outdoing Port Lincoln and Port Augusta.
A sea change on the rise. The results from last year's census reveal living as close as you can to the ocean is the preferred choice for many, with the population surging in the Copper Coast Council area.
Most of the growth has been in the coastal areas of Moonta Bay, Port Hughes, Wallaroo, and a lot of that's been fed by people as retirees.
Mayor Paul Thomas says recent upgrades to the town's infrastructure has provided extra incentive for some to make the move.
Start to shift to live here permanently within the next 5 to 10 years, and that seems to be the case with our population increasing by 9.2%.
The Copper Coast Council area is now ranked at the 4th highest population area in regional South Australia, as well as the 4th fastest growing council area outside of Adelaide.
Now about 14,200, and that'll push obviously over the 15,000 people in the next 2 years if our percentage increase remains the same.
Meanwhile, Port Lincoln has been flatlining, only growing by 34 people in the past 5 years.
It's a reasonably large area now in comparison to some of those other regional communities in the sense of South Australia.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Our local regional development authorities will sign a charter helping them to direct their focus on delivering new jobs and industries. The CEO of the Whyalla and Eyre Peninsula RDA, however, says we'll see little change as South Australia's authorities are already on the case.
Last year, Regional Development Minister Fiona Nash announced a review of the 55 RDAs across Australia. It was the largest review since the authorities were founded a decade ago. In response to recommendations, local authorities are set to have their purpose put down on paper in a new nationwide 10-point charter.
Deliver regional economic development outcomes that ultimately result in more jobs and more investments in regions.
It'll emphasise working together with the 3 tiers of government in each region. There's a focus on developing new industries and jobs, while also encouraging decentralisation of the public and private sector. Mr Dorwood says the charter will feel familiar, as most RDAs here in SA already follow a similar protocol.
And we work collaboratively with all 3 tiers of government and we do work to outcomes that deliver jobs and investment primarily.
As the region moves forward after a difficult 2 years, Mr Dorwood says it's time to move forward with the new guidance, and decentralisation is likely to be a key industry they'll look to gain a share of. He says they'll work with their partners in the region to get the economy back on track.
Definitely we'll be meeting with councils and industry groups across the region over the next few months.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Port Augusta business owners have rallied together to boost tourism in the town by taking to the skies. The group's launching a new scenic flight service, with a major test flight returning from its maiden journey today.
A new business venture lands in Port Augusta.
There seems to be a lot of people that travel to Port Augusta. Not everyone's sort of capable of going off-road to get to some of these more remote locations. So we see there's a potential opportunity there to take these people to these remote locations.
It's an idea developed by a charter company, Wrights Air, and local pilot Phil Van Wiegen after a lack of business and scenic flights heading further north. This Cessna 210 will be one of the company's aircraft, which will now be based at and operate out of Port Augusta.
We've decided to open up out of Port Augusta, and they're working in conjunction with Trevor and do the scenic flight and business as well. And just see what sort of business we can develop from Port Augusta.
The plane returned today from its maiden flight, carrying local MP Dan Van Holst Pelican on a trip to the state's far north.
I've never actually chartered a plane in this way before. I drive just about everywhere, but having Phil and his plane based here in Port Augusta opens up a wide range of opportunities for people to have efficient, cost-effective travel.
It's hoped the service will bring more people to the region, flowing on to bigger tourism spends in food and accommodation.
It'll attract a lot more people into Port Augusta if they know that they can fly for business or for pleasure out of Port Augusta, and having a highly professional pilot, a high-quality plane based here in Port Augusta.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Still to come in tonight's local news, more on a massive expansion of an on-the-run service centre in Port Lincoln. That's next. Welcome back. Whyalla residents are calling on the state government to permanently ban the fishing of cuttlefish on the Upper Spencer Gulf. The current temporary ban will expire in February, with a decision yet to be made on its future.
4 years ago, Tony Bramley thought the giant Australian cuttlefish had been wiped out from Whyalla forever. A record low population count led to the state government creating a cuttlefish exclusion zone in the region. He says the sanctuary zone protection has overlapped with an increased population.
I think that's coincided with the recovery of the animals from the really bad year we had in 2013.
The zone covers the whole Spencer Gulf north of Arno Bay and Wallaroo. It adds to a permanent ban that's existed in Point Lowly and False Bay for nearly 20 years, but it has an expiry date.
Under the existing legislation, it's rescinded on the 15th of February next year.
Mr Bramley says the Environment Department is yet to decide on whether the ban will continue.
We've talked to them about it, and there is no policy going forward from the 15th of February next year.
He's pushing for the state government to declare a permanent ban in the area as soon as possible, saying fishing could hamper the work of researchers.
Until we know for certain, we can't risk losing a protection for the animals without knowing the consequences.
The state government didn't comment before deadline. John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A $1.2 million on-the-run expansion has received the tick of approval in Port Lincoln. Fast food restaurant Hungry Jack's will now develop its drive-through site on Liverpool Street.
It's been years in the making, but finally the fast food giant has received the seal of approval to build in Port Lincoln. The On The Run franchise pleased with the outcome.
We're thrilled with the council approval. This is great news for On the Run and the community of Port Lincoln.
Road management issues prevented the site from beginning construction sooner, as well as issues surrounding access to London Street Bridge. The Port Lincoln Mayor welcomed the food chain and the jobs boost it'll bring to the area.
To have another iconic brand appear in our town, I guess cements us as a really regional centre.
50 jobs will be involved in the construction of the project, and then up to 30 retail jobs again taken from the local community will be created once the Hungry Jack's is open.
But Port Lincoln residents will be required to wait just a fraction longer before they can wrap their hands around a Whopper.
We'd love to think we could have it open before Christmas, but the pre-construction process will push us to early 2018.
The Hungry Jack's site will feature a full drive-through and dining area to coexist with the current on-the-run service station alongside the new multi-million-dollar London Street thoroughfare.
Some new development happening down there will really spruce that area up.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Students from across the region were on song today as they began rehearsals for a combined choir performance tomorrow night. The choir is part of the state's Festival of Music, and even school students from Coober Pedy have made the journey to Port Augusta to perform.
Singing, speaking and acting. This is the first time students from 8 different schools have practiced together.
Everybody's good with their words, and if they're not, they're pretending, which is excellent. And the soloists, we've got some great soloists. The band sounds great. This is the first time we've all got together with all the singers and all the bands, so it's fantastic.
I never asked to be different.
Students from as far as Coober Pedy and the School of the Air have joined Port Augusta primary schools to sing as one.
We have some kids that are lacking in confidence, but they get up on the stage and they're a totally different person, and then that sort of transfers into their schooling as well. They become a different person when they're back at school. It's amazing.
Tomorrow night is their first and only performance, and it's a sellout.
It's looking like it's pretty full already, so there might be a couple of seats, but if people want tickets, they need to get early, come here early.
So when I've done it in previous years, there's been 2 concerts, but this year it's only 1, so I think the audience will be packed.
With a few final tweaks, the ensemble will be ready to sing their hearts out.
Mostly prepared. They're very nervous, but they always get like that. But whenever we have our performance, they pull it together and they do a brilliant job.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
When we return after the break, the exhibition helping Port Lincoln locals learn what's under the sea. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, we all know choosing a career isn't one of the easiest things to do, but Port Augusta's TAFE campus is hoping to make some of that task a little bit easier. Holding its open annual day today, the public was given a chance to look at local career paths. The campus was open for tours throughout the day, with coffee making and mining truck simulators proving to be a big hit. TAFE SA's regional manager says the upcoming energy and mining projects in the town will mean a bigger interest in the TAFE's trade courses.
The recent announcements around solar thermal, and we also have the mining announcement with the Carrapateena mine. We've had a bit of interest in the traditional trades, which we have every year.
The intriguing world of the science behind the local marine life in Port Lincoln will be on show this week. The City Library is encouraging children to discover what's under the sea.
The Eyre Peninsula is renowned for its majestic marine wildlife.
We just have such a unique marine environment over here. Lots of it is found nowhere else in the world.
This week, what's beneath the surface will be showcased in an interactive display by the Department of Natural Resources.
Kids' faces light up and parents' faces light up and see things that they've never seen before and learn things that they didn't know existed.
The pop-up Discovery Centre coincides with National Sea Week, becoming an annual event at the Port Lincoln Library.
The hands-on interpretive opportunity for people to come in and actually pick up objects and shells, examine them and know that they are part of our beautiful environment.
The highlight, a 4D interactive shark. It'll also feature whale skeletons, dolphin demonstrations and microscopes for those eager to dig a little deeper.
Come through, have a look, learn about the marine environment and how amazing our coastal marine environment here.
The library expects nearly 9,000 people to visit, while the pop-up remains on display until the end of the year. Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
While parts of Port Pirie may be undergoing major transformations, traditions will continue. Preparations are in full swing for the annual Smelters Picnic, which will move locations this year due to construction.
Almost nothing will stop the Smelters Picnic from going ahead. The traditional home, Memorial Oval, is no longer able to play host, with the development of the regional sports precinct well underway.
The 114th annual event, as far as the picnic itself is concerned, because of the problems associated with the works going on in the Oval, we've had to move the sideshows from there to the western end of this Memorial Park.
Despite that, the picnic will still have everything locals have come to love. 80 stalls showcasing local products will fill Memorial Park and line the footpath of Memorial Drive.
The rides will still be in the western end of the park. The smaller kiddies rides will either be just here on the main part of the oval of the park or up by the playground.
The wet weather didn't keep locals away last year, and council's now hoping for a dry day.
It's a very significant event for the community and probably the largest event, so over 5,000 people come out for the event.
Hopefully it's a beautiful day and everybody has a great time.
The picnic will kick off at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 27th of September. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, time for this week's Fuel Watch now, where we look at how things are shaping up when we head to the Bowser. It's been an up and down start to September, with some prices on the rise while others decline. Patrick Reinke has all the details.
The first week of spring has been a bit unpredictable across both boards. Let's start with unleaded. In Port Lincoln, it's been a good week, and it's the same story in Whyalla. Both towns are seeing green, with prices at around $1.24 a litre. No such luck in Port Augusta, a ½ cent rise putting the price back up to $1.26, the most expensive in the Spencer Gulf. Port Pirie is up a tad but still sits on $1.24, while Kadina has climbed to $1.25. Another week of breaking even for Broken Hill, with the price still hovering in the mid-20s. Adelaide rounds out the board, and it's been a stellar week for the City of Churches. A 17-cent plummet now has the price sitting on an even $1.20. Turning our attention to diesel now, and Port Lincoln is the only one to see red. The price is up by a cent and is now on $1.23. Whyalla is the best performer of the week, with a 3-cent drop ticking the price back down to $1.26, the same as Port Augusta. Port Pirie has barely seen any movement, and so has Kadina. Broken Hill remains steady on $1.30, and Adelaide is still looking good on $1.20. Now remember, these prices are the regional averages, and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. If you happen to find a spot that does sell unleaded or diesel for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Do stay with us after the break. All the local weather with Nicole Johnston. And Nicole, it was a fine day right across the region.
Fraser, yes, that's right. Sunny skies right across the Gulf, and it seems it'll stay that way for the rest of the week. I'll have the details next. Good evening, great to have your company. Mostly clear skies across our region today, 18 degrees the top in Port Augusta, 17 in Whyalla, cloud about in Port Lincoln, 16 the maximum there, and showers on the way for Adelaide though, a top of just 15. On the satellite now, cloud over the nation's southeast is generating showers and alpine snow. Cloud on the west coast with the trough is bringing patchy rain, showers and storms. Skies are generally clear elsewhere under a ridge of high pressure. On the Gulf waters, winds are west-southwesterly between 15 and 20 knots. Seas over a metre with a south-southwesterly swell. The sun will rise just after 6:30, sunset just after 6 p.m. Some showers and sunshine right across the region tomorrow. 20 the top in Port Augusta, 19 for Whyalla. Rain expected in Port Lincoln with 17. Coffin Bay also 17. Broken Hill 18 degrees. Kadina will see some wet weather too, 16 the top. Looking ahead, those showers will clear across the week in Port Lincoln for a sunny top of 21 on Sunday. A similar story for Cleve. Sunny skies will see the week out in Woodena. A top of 16 for Saturday in Whyalla, warming up to 22 on Sunday. Port Augusta, our warmest centre, 18 to 23 degrees over the weekend. Showers clearing in Kadina, 15 on Friday, up to 19 degrees by the week's end. Remaining fine also in Port Pirie, 16 for Saturday. Showers lingering in Clare, but clear skies on Saturday, just 12 the top though. Cloud will clear in Broken Hill on Saturday, 17 before a mild 20 degrees on Sunday. So a perfect weekend to get outside, Fraser.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nicole. And that's all from the Southern Cross newsroom for now. Thanks for your company. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, have a wonderful evening. Good night.